Here we go.
Here come all the
There we
lovely
went.
people.
Hello, everybody. Oh, look at everyone. Hi, guys.
Okay.
I look like I'm on the set of 2001: A Space Odyssey. I know.
Very white.
It's all very white.
Welcome to the Sid City Social Club for Friday, September 16th. We're glad you're here. And now over to Sid.
Hello. Yeah, over to me. I am in week 3, I think, of this series I'm shooting in Hungary, in the beautiful city of Budapest, and it's kind of the center of Europe. Weirdly, I mean, there are other centers of Europe, Slovenia. I mean, all these countries are the center of Europe. It's a swinging town. Lots going on here. Lots of nightlife for anyone under 22, like fluorescent drinks and stuff everywhere. I mean, this place is tourist bars. This is what they do. This is what they like to, do. It's also an element of kind of, forgive me if anyone's from Budapest in the group here today, but there's an element of decay. This was a very grand place once, and the buildings are testament to it. They are huge and majestic and beautiful ceilings and paintings and frescoes everywhere, and just not been painted for about 60 years. Just do a little lick of paint here and there, which is kind of how I see London going one of these days, because it's sort of this majestic town that will soon fade. So yes, it's full of wonderful people, and surprising number of a store called Lidl. On every street corner there's a store called Lidl, which is quite popular in the UK. I noticed that Placido Domingo is coming to sing in the next few days. I don't know if you know him. He's an opera star who used to be very glamorous, but there's a big poster of him right outside my house. That's the reason why I mentioned that later. So let's crack on and say hello to a few people, and maybe even find out whose birthday it has been, might be soon.
We're going to talk to Rob, whose birthday was at some point.
Rob!
Hello.
Hello. I can't shout as loudly as I can in my own house because this is an apartment. There are people above and below me. When was your birthday?
It feels like ages ago, given what's happened this week in the UK, but it was on Tuesday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Rob.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Rob.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So unlike you, I didn't mind cranking up the volume for that because I really wanted to piss my neighbor off. So
yeah, no, I'm not good. I'm not good at that. I can't do that. I am such a shrinking, retiring person. If anyone so much as raised their voice in my general direction, I'd be freaked out for days. But it's I'm in a nice enough place. What did you do for your birthday?
Not a fat lot because it was on a Tuesday, so it was yeah, and I wasn't feeling that great because I had my my COVID booster last Friday. So kind of a little bit. It wasn't enough to feel ill and be in bed. It was that just off that you kind of
yeah. I know what you mean.
So, but I was still not bad enough to not go in for a 2-hour meeting in university. So that
which you had to do.
Finished me off for the day really, but it got me out of kind of watching the news and just seeing the same thing on endless repeat for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been quite a thing. I mean, I've been watching the BBC. And for those of you who don't know, the Queen of England died. I'm sorry to laugh. I didn't mean that as a joke. It's been everywhere on everything for days and days and days. And the BBC, God bless them, that's all they're reporting on. And every tiny movement.
It used to be like 45 minutes of Ukraine and 5 minutes of everything else, and now it's 45 minutes of the Queen and 5 minutes of the Ukraine and 30 seconds of everything else instead. It's weird the kind of protocol that they have to follow to kind of report. I mean, I get that it's sad, yes, but maybe keep it to one channel and life does carry on.
Well, she has united the country. I mean, I hope that lasts. In passing, she has united the country, and you know what? I'm fairly and I suppose ambivalent about the royal family, as a lot of British people are. Some days I'm like, oh, they're the sweetest, loveliest bunch of people, blah, blah, blah. And then another day I'm like, oh my God, but all those countries that were wrecked. And it's, so, yeah, it's one of those difficult things to really juggle with. I've heard a bit about her. There's a thing of her in photos of her in her own words. I don't know if you've seen that unseen footage. She sounds really lovely. I mean, she sounds like she gives a damn about people, and she just seems like a warm person. Do you get that sense?
Yeah, I just wish it's such a shame that they actually saved those programs for when someone like that has actually passed away. You know, it'd be nice to know about that whilst they're actually still around, so you can actually know more of what they're like, and more people might actually be kind of, less ambivalent towards them. I'm definitely one like you, that I wouldn't call myself a Republican or a royalist. It's just they're there and let them get on with their job.
Yeah, yeah. I heard in there was a thing that sorry if this is boring to people who have had enough of this conversation, but I haven't talked about it at all. So hello, I've got to talk about it. I've been in Hungary. Get out your system,
go on.
And, there was that little ceremony where the king was given his kingness by all the privy secretary, all the privy council.
The proclamation, yeah.
The proclamation, that's it. I think it's called giving him his kingness in technically.
You have to be careful how you say that.
No,
yeah.
Not that. So he said, listen, I promise you, I will give you all my royal lands and estates in return for a sovereign fund. Is that how it works?
Yeah. Yeah, he gives up any wealth that he has, and they get the I think it's the sovereign grant or something like that, which is money to them every I think it's annually, and
so it's not massive.
No, given how much they actually bring into the economy, which is about 10 times more than that, just in terms of tourism and stuff, it's not a bad deal.
So they don't own any land.
They do. It's kind of, I think it's gifted to them by the government. This is where my brain starts to get a bit foggy with it as well, because it starts to drift into politics, and then that makes me fall asleep instead. So
right. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, good. And you've got the 15th prime minister in as many months, apparently. Back-to-back
meetings with Boris Johnson and Liz Truss would be enough to make me feel a bit queasy as well. You can't. I mean, working up until 2 days before she goes, that's pretty good for a 96-year-old.
It's true. But it was nice to see Meghan and Harry and William and the other one, the Duchess, all walking together behind the coat.
Kate and William.
Kate. It was nice to see them all walking together. Cool. So now I've absolutely talked out my whole royal thing, which I needed to get off my chest, because I have not had a word talked about it with anybody since I've been here. What would you like to talk about? What's going on in your world?
Oh God, you can take your pick. It's my year's been, if I could describe it in one word, it would be turbulent. It's either been absolute highs or a hell of a lot of or not a fat lot in between in the middle, other than, well, friends, family, you guys, editing videos, and probably red wine, and not in that order necessarily.
Well, I hope you're at least some of the is in the rearview mirror.
Some of it's I'm kind of I've been dealing with it for a while, where without kind of going into too much detail, I've had to move several of my PAs from what I call the reasonably reliable column to the reliably unreliable column, and move them on, which is always a bit of a moving feast, and it's just really difficult to recruit new people at the moment. It's an industry-wide thing that everyone's struggling to recruit people, because
absolutely. Is there an agency that deals with this, because it's quite a specialist job, isn't it? It's not.
No, do it all myself.
Wow. How would you go about that? Because this is a very unusual PA role. By most people's standards, you're not simply just taking notes and going to the dry cleaners.
Well, there is that as well.
Well, I hope so. Someone comes in obviously for an appointment, you say hello, and surprise, this is what this job is. Are you cut out for it?
In a roundabout way, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, there's an advertising platform that can basically put job adverts on there, and PAs can register and apply for the jobs. And so that's quite good because it pushes out the jobs to like a load of different areas as well, like local universities and things like that. But most of it is just about kind of thinking what sort of person you want supporting you and where would they go looking for a job, and then you advertise there. So
it takes a special kind of person to, in this job glut, for want of a better way of looking at it, talking about it, to sign up for this sort of intensive personal assistant work. I mean, it really, you'd think that anybody who emerges is already 90% of the way there. Is that?
I think that's possibly the nicest way that someone said that you've got to find someone who's willing to put up with me. So
that's not what I meant. It's hard work. I mean, it would be hard work. I mean,
no, I know it's hard work for anyone, which is why I kind of, keep shifts short. I don't flog them like a dead horse. I try and let them have breaks, kind of think how I would feel in their situation, just as they would in mine. But they do have to have that understanding that I can have days where I might not need anything for 2 or 3 hours, particularly if I'm doing any editing or stuff like that. I can have other days where I need 10 things in 3 minutes whilst they're eating. It's
of course. Well, you will disagree with me, but they couldn't have a lovelier boss than you. I mean,
well, really. And that's written into their contract as well, so they have to agree with
it. It's brilliant. So you've had that's a tough one, because that's personally difficult to I'm one of those sort of people who'll put up with a bad thing because I just haven't got the courage to finish it. But tell me about some of the fun stuff that's happened. Tell me about some of the things that you like.
Going out to conventions again has been great fun. So I think, including Chicago, I've been to 4 this year now. So going out, just being around people again has been great. Along with, I made it to, I think, 3 of the 4 gigs that I told you about earlier on this year. So I got to see Ed Sheeran, Adele, and Coldplay. And just that being around 60, 70,000 people again was just, I mean, it was deafening to begin with, because it almost reminded me of being back in hospital when I first came out of intensive care, and just being around people again, literally like a pin drop, sounded like it was deafening. Incredible atmospheres and all completely different. And I have to say, Coldplay for, I mean, I knew that they were good live, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I was a massive fan of their music. I probably know about maybe half dozen. No, hang on, Colin might be listening. I know all of their songs. I like about
he is listening. He said he would be.
And I could probably name those off the top of my head, but just the atmosphere that they created, and having like the glow in the dark wristbands, and they had like inflatable balls kind of bouncing around all evening. They even had like a kinetic platform on the floor for people standing where they could jump up and down on it, and that would actually charge the energy that they needed for putting the show on. And stuff. So just loads of things like that. It just felt like the most inclusive gig that I'd ever been to. And me and my best friend, one that I showed you from the birthday pictures last year, we both just looked at each other after the first song and just went, wow. And then just danced all night and got absolutely hammered, which is
which you absolutely have to do. Did they sing Yellow? Yellow is such an amazing.
They did that. I did actually put together a little kind of video clip of some of them, which I can get a link to. You just had to see it. And at one point they even actually said, "Can you put your phones away and just dance around like idiots?" And they did it to Stars. And it was just it was brilliant just to see all the lights like that. It was fab fun.
Oh, that's great. I love their when they first burst on the scene back in the early 90s. It was just, it kind of changed. I was like, wow. I would just drive listening to those songs again and again. And then after about 10 years, which is so natural, their music just became a little bit mushy, it's like squeaky.
And then they had like surprise guests each night. So we had Stormzy turn up at one point, and the night before, I think they had, Alan Partridge and Simon Pegg. So I think we lucked out on that one. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, but you're well. Overall, you're good. Yeah, pretty much. Any of the kind of the rubbish that goes on just makes me kind of double down and work harder to move on next phase. Yeah. Well, it's lovely catching up with you, Rob. I mean, it always is. Put that video together.
and absolutely send a link.
I've got it. It's in my folder of random stuff, so I'll point it out to Mel and she can send it to you. So
Please, that would be
I want to give you
lovely.
time to chat to other people tonight as well.
I'll get on with it. But it's lovely catching up with you.
Yep, you too.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks,
Happy
Mel.
birthday. Amy Doodles, let's wish you a happy birthday.
Amy Doodles.
Hi.
There's a lot more to that
Amy.
song. Happy sweetheart.
Happy birthday, Amy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Amy Doodles, happy birthday.
I have some
Aw.
stuff to show you. Okay.
Well,
You
I
have-
would love to see some stuff,
Okay.
Amy.
Okay, close your eyes because this is a
Closed.
yeah, okay. Just a little bit. 4 more seconds. Okay. And there's the thing. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong end. Okay, you can open your eyes.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, it's palm trees and it's flamingo. Wait, where's the flamingos? I've lost. Oh, here's the flamingos. Flamingos.
You have a tropical paradise on. You are
I do.
you
Oh,
are
and then
tropical
this-
paradise,
This is an inflatable crown.
which
it's
all
inflatable.
crowns should be.
Yes, and it says for royal emergencies.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
it has, and it arrived. This is kind of sad, but so we'll go to a better thing in a minute. It arrived 2 days before Queen Elizabeth died, and they put this crown, this inflatable crown on Queen Elizabeth.
Oh yes, yes.
Oh,
They
that's-
probably wouldn't have done that now.
No,
But she
was-
found her
it was
crown incredibly uncomfortable, so she would probably have loved that.
loved and an inflatable one. Okay, now I'm not done though.
Shutting eyes again, or can I keep my
Yeah,
eyes open?
you don't have to.
Oh, a tiara of pink and gold and purple and green and magenta, I think. I don't know what color.
I got
Wow.
these last year when I was 60, but this is my first birthday shout out.
How have we missed it? How has that
The
happened?
first time I didn't know you had them. And then the second time you were in Estonia and something happened this month and that was the thing.
Boom.
Okay,
There
one
is the
more.
head that wears the crown. Wow, that's really gorgeous. I love all the butterflies. Who'd have thunk that they would make a great crown?
Who'd have thunk it? Oh, and you have to see this. I just ran into this a few minutes ago. The other day, in my meals, I got doodle cookies. Look at those
You
doodles.
got mini doodles.
Yes, so it's like a mini me in a packet.
We love mini doodles just as much as we love Amy Doodles.
Oh, thank you.
Have you ever read any? Have you ever heard of or read any Gabriel Garcia Marquez?
I don't think so.
He's got a character who walks around, and wherever she walks, she's followed by butterflies. And it's always,
Oh,
it's always been like one of my favorite characters.
Oh,
and
I
it's
love
either
that.
loving the time of cholera or 100 years of it.
Oh, that's great. I'm working on
Oh
this
yeah! Oh my
picture.
goodness! Wow!
It's like a lot like the one I showed you a while back. And I'm working on this one.
Oh yeah! I have
So,
no idea what that is, but I don't need to know. It's stunning.
Thank you.
Isn't that funny? Because you don't realize that you have, I didn't realize that you have put so much work into putting every one of those little points on that page. That is
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Couldn't do it for this one. I had to do this one really, really, really by hand because it was so little. I mean, without a lot of, I have a light table and I put the graph paper on the light table and then put the paper on top and then I can do the grid.
Wow.
So
The amount of work, Amy, that goes into them is astonishing. One of the things about your art is that you can look at it for a long time. It's not like a moment and you get it. It's
Yeah.
really, there's so much richness in there that you can really just go for a swim in, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. And even on this tiny scale of like little bathroom tile size pieces
Yeah.
that you're doing right now. There's just so much wealth of information in there.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing to me.
Thank you.
When,
Yeah.
when did you make the transition from large to smaller, or did it happen gradually?
I think it was gradual. I think at first I thought, oh, it won't take as long. It actually takes a lot longer.
Wishful
I'm
thinking.
pretty sure. I think I said before, I had 9 years when I didn't really do any art. I did very little, very, very
Yeah.
little.
What a shame.
It's because when I started having the dementia, I literally couldn't figure out technically how to draw all of a sudden. It was
Yeah.
really weird. And then some of it came back miraculously. But, and I think also that might be why I went down, so I downsized the pictures, because the big ones I couldn't get the spatial anything right. And I couldn't, and so I think that's why this way I can just see it right here. And, so
Well, it's
maybe-
beautiful and it works.
Thank
I mean,
you.
it really does. It's just gorgeous.
Thank you. And during that time, I think I wrote a couple of poems, but my poetry is pretty much gone. Sometime if I can find it, I'll show you. It's a big one I did, and it's the biggest one I've done since I did it, actually, the last really big picture. And it was for the art museum here, and they had a children's exhibit that went to all the schools in Wyoming.
Mhm.
And they asked me, and it was on cultural stuff. So they asked me to do one for, because I'm Jewish. So I did all these Jewish food things, but they're in a landscape setting with little people all the way across. And
Oh my gosh.
it's like 3 feet long or something. I mean, it's really long.
I wish we could see this. I would love to. Did they ever take a photograph and give it to you so that at least you had a keepsake?
It's here.
If you have time and if you remember, which are both important to happen at the same time, to coincide, find the painting with all the Jewish food, because I'd just love to see it for another time, even if you're not talking, but you just show it to us.
Okay. And then the other funny thing about it is I wanted it to be snack food. So I did it, and it was nosh s. So if you put it together, that's nauseous. So
I may have already told you this story, but you reminded me of a story that I went to. We were shooting The Spy in Morocco about 4-5 years ago now. Might have been more than that. And Sacha Baron Cohen. Yeah, we went to Marrakesh first, and to just look around, see what was going on. And he was given a very fancy hotel room, and he kindly managed to organize another one for me. And we went to a comedy festival. And the next day and everybody knew who he was. And a lot of the comedians were Jewish, and it was a holiday. So they sang songs and stuff. And I was invited into the room, which I'm kind of used to, because Shana, my wife, goes to Passover with the same family every year, and I always go now. The next day we went to a sort of big kind of emporium of antiquities. And in this emporium, there was a Torah standing.
Yeah.
There were 2 of them, and they had these Torahs, and they were like, these are original Torahs. I'm not going to try a Moroccan accent. I could do it, but I'm not going to bother. Sasha was like, whoa, okay, is it all right if I have a look at these? And the guy said, no, you can have a look at them. And obviously he'd shown customers before, which horrified me, because these things should be, if they were as old as he said they were, he opened this up and he found a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was a correction. It had been corrected with something, but it looked old. And he went, this is no longer Torah.
Because if you make a mistake, you start all the way over.
Yeah. And he said, this is being corrected.
Over.
This can't be the real thing.
Right.
And he was so happy with himself that he discovered this, that he rang his rabbi in England.
Oh my
gosh. And he talked to his rabbi and said, I've just uncovered a fake Torah. I have saved people from wasting their money in this Jewish Emporium.
Yay.
And then he hung up with a big smile on his face, and he realized it was Saturday, and he had just rung his rabbi on a mobile phone. Yes, so there was a lot of laughter.
That's funny.
What else did you on your birthday? I didn't ask. I always ask.
I had a piece of cake. Oh, I can show you the cake. I asked for like a small cake or a cupcake or a donut. It's kind of cute. It has little dollops of frosting on it.
Oh, yes. Wait a minute. Now we're talking. We've got hundreds of thousands at the base and dollops on the top. That's
Yeah.
great. Do you have to be disciplined about that? About when you eat, or is it okay to have as much as that?
Since the dementia, I've been much more of a sugar fiend, but I try really hard not to. And then now my taste buds are weird. I used to love broccoli, and now I can't even stand it. And
What?
yeah, I know. It's just weird, especially if it's cooked. I can't stand the smell of it for some reason. And then cooked carrots, I can't eat any of them. They taste like soap to me.
Wow.
Isn't that weird? I think
That
that's
is weird. But
And we finally arranged. I haven't seen my mother in 8 years, and I haven't talked with her in several months. So we're trying to arrange this video thing. And the first time we tried to set it up, it never worked. So we're going to do it on Monday, and I'm gonna be able to talk with her. And I just wanted to see that I'm really pretty okay. It's just that I can't do a lot. Right now. So
well, you can still doodle.
I can still doodle all the live long day.
That's really important to us.
There's joy to be had still, lots of joy to be had.
There is. If you have the energy, time, and the memory to dig out the Jewish food painting,
I will.
Collage, please do. I'd love to see it.
Oh, okay. Well, I need to go. Now. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Time flies when you're
Time flies.
frozen.
We love talking to you, so it's all fine, Amy, and we'll catch up because I want to see the food painting, please.
I will.
We'll see.
Okay.
Thanks, Amy. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Okay, we're gonna go chat with M.
Hi.
Hi.
Well done. It's good to see you again, Em.
Oh, it's great to see you too.
How are you? Have you just had a birthday?
No, I have not.
Okay,
So
good.
It has been a while. I am still the same age that I was. So
It's my son's birthday today. I've got to call him after all of this stuff. What's going on? What's happening?
a lot has happened since we last talked. So you remember that time we were all in Chicago together?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that was cool. So that was a huge weekend for me in a lot of ways. And
Me too.
Yeah.
But tell me why.
No, well, without
tell me what
going
you want to tell me.
Well, what I want to tell you is that since then,
Yes.
I have left an abusive marriage. I have landed my dream job.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I am kind of living a life I couldn't even imagine.
You are amazing. You're amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing person. You've done it. You're brilliant. How amazing is that? How difficult was that?
It was both one of the easiest things I've ever done and one of the hardest.
Yeah.
We'd been together for 20 years.
Okay, that's
my entire adult life.
That is
Yeah.
a very long time. Yeah, absolutely.
is.
Did you even wonder who you were without that person? Did you have a sense of yourself outside of that relationship?
Yes, and I think I can attribute a lot of that to you guys and this group, and
Yeah.
at least helping me reclaim enough of that I felt like I had enough self to actually stand on my own.
Mine, yeah, absolutely. To find.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing to, kind of take those steps, out after hearing so many things, that, I wouldn't be able to succeed on my own, that, I couldn't support myself, that all kinds of things you can probably imagine.
So this has been over years, or is this the culmination that you heard these sort of things?
Oh, over the years.
So this is a drip feed of you're not capable of being alone.
Oh, absolutely. I was lucky enough. I was able to go treat myself and go to the big convention in Vegas a few weeks ago.
That was just recent, wasn't it? Yes,
It
absolutely.
was actually, yeah, it was wonderful. And I got to hang out with some folks from the club, and it was great. One of the things I was thinking about all weekend was just, I feel so blessed that I was able to break away and break out of this destructiveness and this, this pain and this just sort of downward spiral. The way it happened to me, I know there are so many of us in this group, in this fandom, in, the world at large, that are so vulnerable to the same kinds of, abuse, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm working on a project with some other friends who have been in the, sort of in the fandom, like convention world, and do a lot with mental health. And right now I am working in behavioral health, sort of case management.
Right.
It was amazing. It was the first time in my life I could ever say I walked into a job and I'm like, I know this.
Yeah.
This is where I belong. This is exactly, I can do this.
Yes. You can't do it any other way. You have to roll your sleeves up and be in that life to understand.
Absolutely. So with all of that, I was thinking it would be really nice to have a nice practical sort of way, like a very social work kind of way to address mental health and fandom at conventions and things like that. Either possibly tabling or speaking, but talking about some of the pitfalls and the ways that people get, people who might be a little bit more vulnerable to it get drawn into it, I suppose. Yeah. And sort of, ways to sort of deprogram that.
That's really interesting because I think you're obviously entirely blameless as anybody who ends up in a relationship that is manipulated in the way that you were, and with an obvious power discrepancy, which is financial on one hand, and has various other coercive mechanisms.
Sure.
One thing that everybody says, and this is where I think that a lot of thought has to come into this, is that nobody saw it coming. Nobody got it. No, if you could just say this is going to be bad for you, then you would be able to. There's no preventative care for this problem. Yeah. It's always after the fact.
But I think there can be, to a point. In my case, I was kind of a sitting duck. At least that's how my therapist put it. I was 18. I was an idiot. I had like no support network, nobody around me to sort of, call out any of these kinds of behaviors. And I ended up, well, here's this person who's, telling me I'm the most wonderful thing in the world, who really wants to spend time with me when I'm all alone, who wants to, and is so committed. So right now, having just an ounce of like knowing that was a major red flag. These are all red flags. If you could have seen me back then, you would have wanted to shake me, because
boy, Emma, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, but it was just
bunch of wasted years and wasted feelings, and nothing's wasted. Nothing's wasted in place. You're going to do something wonderful with all of this.
That's my hope. But and I have a beautiful son that I love. Yeah, I can't regret it completely because it was something I was able to spin into opportunities later on. When somebody is telling you, okay, the rest of the world may not have understood you, but I do. Yeah. Nobody else really likes you, but I do. It was really on display in Chicago, to be honest, because he was there with me.
Okay. It's funny because the cruelty involved in that is, to my mind, it reminds me of being a child. Children behave like that. Amongst each other. They manipulate each other unashamedly like that. And it seems very odd that as adults you don't shake that couldn't get shaken out.
You know, you justify it and you excuse it and you blame yourself and you think, you know, clearly I have this wrong.
Yeah.
Until you realize, oh, no, actually, the moment for me was in Chicago. I wanted to be happy. And when I reached that milestone of turning 40, it was going to be a big deal. It was going to be a very big deal. I mentioned to him at one point that my mother had thrown my father a huge party for his 40th birthday. When my mother's 40th came around, sort of after the fact, my dad asked her, oh, do you want to like choose what we have for dinner tonight? And that was her 40th.
That was it. Yeah.
That was it. And I'm like, we're not doing that. And he had 20 years of lead up to this. He knew my feelings about this. And when his 40th came around, we had a lovely catered affair at an upscale steakhouse for all of his friends and family.
Yeah.
When mine came around, 4 days beforehand, I had given him plenty of warning. I had said, hey, you know, it might be nice if we took a little family trip. 4 days beforehand, he'd done nothing. He just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
And so that's when I bought the tickets to Chicago. I said, hey, guess what we're doing for my birthday? We're going to Chicago.
You were incredibly lucky, I guess, to have figured it out, because that seems to be, from what you say, it sounds like a lucky escape.
It really was. And
anything else. And how are you going to put this into, obviously not all the, you won't know all the details yet, but you've got the drive and the passion, and you certainly have a beginning of a network here with people you can talk to who will help, and you know, you can bounce ideas off. What is your first move?
I've had some talks with the Gays in Space.
Gays in Space, but yes.
Yes, and they had some amazing parties in Las Vegas, let me tell you.
Sure.
But we, you know, I'm not sure what's going to come of that particularly, but there's a potential for partnering there. I have some friends who've, they've done yoga at conventions before and also paneled about mental health. She's a mental health provider and has written books on mental health and fandom. And so she's often done that before. And so she and I have been talking about possibly collaborating on this. I have friends in the convention world and we're, you know, agents and things like that. So I'll probably see about, you know, if I do a panel or something like that, it would be mostly probably sharing a little bit of my own experience, but also tying it in with, you know, Star Trek or the fandom and how, you know, how we can sort of equip ourselves, you know, as members of this family to help one another and to help, you know, ourselves. And then I would probably have a table somewhere on the floor with various resources for people who needed them. So,
and that's a terrific start. That you couldn't be using your pretty terrible history to putting it to a better use. And it's a really proactive, productive, consequential and generous thing you're doing, and it's hopefully you'll kick all kinds of ass, as I like to say.
Well,
I really do a good job. By the way, you should tell your story by putting it down on paper as well. I hope you're doing that.
I actually have. There's an I shared an essay with the group a few months ago, so good. And I can reshare that later for those who want to read it, but it's pretty heavy reading, so.
You're amazing. You're amazing. Congratulations. You've done one of the bravest things that anyone can do, and it's really hard to look outside the box.
Well, it would have been a lot harder to do it if I hadn't been able to see your face smiling at me at least once a week, making me feel like, I don't know, maybe I wasn't all of those things that I was being told that I was. So.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you weren't, and well done being nice to yourself. You're brilliant. Well done, Em. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Em. Thanks for sharing. Okay, we are going to quickly chat with Rose.
Hey, Sid.
Hello, Rose. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's really good to see you too.
Thank you.
So it's been quite an eventful summer for me.
You've just started school, haven't you?
Well, yeah, in a matter of speaking, because I'm done with school. I don't think you can
Okay,
do much
right.
school
This
after
is
a
news.
PhD.
I know, but you're teaching.
Yeah, so what I'm doing right now is I'm substitute teaching at the school where my mom works, the high school, because I don't have an academic job yet, but I have one for the spring that I found
Okay.
out I got about a few weeks ago. I interviewed for it. I found I
Congratulations.
got it. Yeah, it's
Oh,
an adjunct
fantastic.
position
Oh my
here.
goodness, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm teaching a couple classes. One is like the class I've taught before at University of Texas, which is just like 900 years of Western music history in one semester, from like middle ages to the present. It's always a really interesting class to teach, because you just get acquainted with just how much American students don't know European history at all. And you have to explain that, the basics of that, like what the Reformation was, what the Crusades were and stuff, just to be able to teach the music history, like put that foundation there. So it's always fun. I'm teaching this class that they're basically kind of letting me design, because I'm the first person to just teach it, called Sounds of the City. So it's sort of like the idea of sort of like music and urban spaces. And so I'm making it sort of oriented around focusing on a few particular American cities that are like known for music, places like New Orleans, Nashville. I'm putting my hometown of Detroit in there, because we have Motown and various other things, and Austin, the live music capital of the world, and then the Bay Area and Philadelphia. I want to represent different parts of the country.
So you're not going the kind of the traditional route, which is sort of Scott Joplin and those sort of.
No, I want to focus on particular cities and sort of like how there's a musical subculture that grows up around particular places, like how why New Orleans was where jazz came from. What is it specifically
really
about?
Good. That's a really cool idea. Cool. And are they all? So this is a composition class. Are they budding composers?
No, they're mostly people who aren't music majors. So it's at a general university in Baltimore, here at Towson University. And they have a separate set of classes for music majors and non-music majors. So I'm teaching the second one.
So you're starting in spring, this course?
Yeah, I'm starting the 2 courses in the spring. So right now I'm just subbing for various high school and middle school classes. You're
being actually really valuable, because subbing is, we all need, there's such a terrible dearth of teachers.
The whole political situation in this country is so demoralizing. Like applying for academic jobs, you just apply everywhere, but like it's always in the back of my mind of like, do I really want to move to a state where I'm a second-class citizen twice over because I'm female and gay? Like, do I really want to move to Alabama, which is one of the places that is posting right now? And I'm just like it. But you have to consider it if you want an academic job, but it's just like, is it worth it? Like, and in Florida, they're even attacking academics. Like DeSantis is making colleges like you can't teach critical race theory, which he defines.
You can't teach race at all. You can't.
Exactly.
And acknowledge that there was that anyone was different 100 years ago.
And it's like, you would think you would think that wouldn't come up necessarily with what I teach, but I teach the history of American popular music. There's no way to talk about that and not talk about race. It would be impossible for me to just teach the class on hip hop that I was a TA for at UT under restrictions like this. And so it's really,
for sure,
it makes it hard to, I'm really glad to be out of Texas, even though I loved a lot of things about living in Austin.
And Austin is one of the cultural hubs of America. I mean, it's an amazing,
I love Austin.
Amazing center. It's got such a vibrant film community, such a vibrant arts community.
That's the thing I really loved, that I could go see movies all the time. They have such a great film scene there. I was a member of the Austin Film Society for a while, like a audience member. I wasn't one of the filmmaker people, but that was run by Richard Linklater, and you could go see him do a talk, and it was so cool. And I really liked that about living there. So many things about living there, but the state politics, not the local politics, the climate. You guys were talking about bugs earlier. They have lots of interesting stuff in Texas. I don't miss those.
Nature has a way of telling humans that you're not supposed to be living here.
Yeah, and I don't understand how
That's what it's
like
doing.
this whole summer there's been these like record heat waves there, and I'm just like, at my graduation ceremony in May, it was like 100 degrees that weekend, and my mom insisted on me walking around town in my giant graduation gown. I was dying. So it was a really exciting weekend,
Sweet.
even if it was
That's
way too
really
hot.
gorgeous. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That is really lovely.
And I'm still
I'm sitting here in Budapest, and I was like, right, I already told you about Placido Domingo outside, but I was like, right, I'm going to go and listen to some music because I've got a few days off and I've got money that I'm not spending on anything. I looked in the thing and there's really nothing going on at the moment because it's pre-orchestra season. I guess
it's like the very beginning.
next month. So unless I want to go and hear some very local church choral stuff, which I can hear just by walking into a church on Sunday, which I could do. So I then looked at Salzburg and I looked at Vienna. I was like, oh my goodness, Ruben Mehta is conducting it in Vienna. Sold out.
Oh yeah.
They go to concerts in Austria. They actually go. It's kind of nice being in part of the world where poetry and music are taken really seriously, and literature, and the people who may not be wealthy but do poetry and do make music and write literature are really highly respected. Quite nice being back in a place where, like Ireland, where you go to a pub and talk about a writer you love and money doesn't come into it. It's kind of refreshing. I quite enjoy that. So there must be some way of combining a little bit of that energy into, especially about towns in Detroit, and there's no money there, and it's one of the poorest towns in America, and yet this amazing poetry comes out of it in terms of a million different Motowns, culminating actually in Eminem.
I'm going to talk about a bunch of different genres. And like when I was a TA for the hip hop class, I did a lecture every year on Detroit hip hop. And so I talked about Eminem. So yeah, I'm planning to talk about Motown hip hop, Detroit's techno scene, the various rock music that's come out of there over the years. Because like a lot of those Motown artists they were these really poor kids who went to like the worst high schools in Detroit. Like my mom and I were looking this up with the Four Tops, and like, because they all went to the same high school, and it was like the worst high school. But you know, they were found by this record label. They could sing really well. They could dance. They all had to go to charm school and stuff. And so and then they made them these international musical sensations. My weird connection is I was born in the same hospital as Diana Ross.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Really?
in downtown Detroit. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, you, except for the fact that you study music, you would be too young to remember Diana Ross. But I do remember Diana Ross. Well, I'm excited to hear more about this course and how it takes shape. I'm really, really curious because it sounds fantastic. We'll make some time to
touch base with you again.
Right back at you, and congratulations on both of these wonderful jobs coming at you in spring.
Thank you. I'm still enjoying the students being able to call me Dr. Bridges. I'm still getting used to it. It feels good every time.
Wonderful. You deserve it.
Thanks, Rose. Okay, let's stay with the academic bent. Mallory's got an announcement for us.
Mallory.
Hello.
Hello.
I'll be very quick, but just wanted to let everybody know. So as you all know, I wrote the academic article about Sid City Social Club and kind of what it did for people during the pandemic. It had been under review with the Journal of Fandom Studies forever. So it's finally been fully accepted for publication, which is super, super great. So
you're amazing, Mallory. That's wonderful. That's congratulations. That's such a huge achievement. It really is.
Thank you. Well, I feel like it's kind of an achievement for the whole club. The announcement is kind of for all of us because of everybody that was a part of it. So it is not set to publish until September of 2023. So we have to wait an entire year, but it is technically pending publication now. But I wanted to let you all know is that the copyright works kind of interestingly with this journal. It's a little bit different from other ones that I've worked with, a little bit looser. So I am allowed to share the article as long as it's not the formally edited article by the journal. So at this point, I can share the article with anyone who would like to read it. And I would love to share a copy of it. Let me know if you'd like to take a look.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Generous. Thank you. And congratulations. It's actually a big deal.
It is a big deal. It makes us a kind of a big deal too. So,
Yes.
very cool. Okay, a couple more things. We are now officially in pop-up mode only with the social club because of Sid's schedule and lack thereof. Of
I
the
can't
social club.
guarantee being anywhere.
Exactly.
I will say good night and
right.
have a lovely rest of day and evening, morning for some.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Sid.
Yeah.
Get some sleep.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll see you when we see ya.
Bye. Love you all.
Bye.